Jon Jones reacts to Tom Aspinall's callout after his 60-second knockout win at UFC 304. Jon Jones reacted to Tom Aspinall's callout. Somewhat. Aspinall successfully defended his interim heavyweight title with a 60-second knockout of Curtis Blaydes in the co-main event of UFC 304 on Saturday night in Manchester. Following the win, Aspinall called for a unification bout with Jones, who defeated Cyril Jean in March 2023 at UFC 285 to win the vacant UFC heavyweight title. On Sunday, Bones gave his first public reaction to Aspinall's comments. "Supply and demand at its best, love it," Jones wrote on social media. Jones is expected to make his first title defense later this year against Stipe Miocic, a bout that UFC CEO Dana White insists he wants to happen, even though the majority of the community hopes the UFC turns on Jones versus Aspinall. The former light heavyweight champion has teased his retirement and has even been locked in a fight with current 205-pound titleholder Alex Pereira over the past few months. In the post-fight press conference at UFC 304, Aspinall sent a message to Jones, who he assumed was involved in his fight with Blaydes. "Jon is the undisputed champion, but I'm the best in the world, if that makes sense," Aspinall said. "We know what Jon is doing. Jon was out there, crossing his fingers and toes tonight hoping that I would lose to Curtis. Let's not talk about that nonsense. He made a big deal about it anyway that I would lose. That didn't happen, so this is the fight I want." After that, Tom Aspinall is tightening his grip on the top heavyweight spot. In the ever-changing MMA landscape, ranking the world's greatest fighters may seem like a fool's errand, but that's exactly what we set out to do with the World MMA Rankings. Here, our esteemed panel sifts through the movers and shakers from each division to provide you with the most definitive list of the best fighters on the planet. There's plenty of movement up and down the divisions to talk about, with Belal Muhammad rising to the top of the welterweight mountain, Kyoji Horiguchi once again emerging as a two-division threat, and Alexander Volkov upsetting Sergey Pavlovich to cause absolute chaos in the rankings. Heavyweight rankings Nasreddin Imavov and Missy Chason round out the top 5 with impressive performances, and flyweight contenders Mukiev and Manel Kape both somehow hurt their stocks after a grudge match at UFC 304 went awry. But it was actually a less obvious move that most interested us this month, as Tom Aspinall established himself as the best heavyweight on the planet with a 60-second victory over Curtis Blaydes. Forget the temporary tag on his belt and the upcoming battle of egos between Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic. Aspinall is the man to beat in his division until proven otherwise. All 7 committee members put Aspinall first on their ballots, with the last remaining Joneses finally seeing fit to switch sides. This means that this is the first time in the history of our rankings that Jones does not have a single number 1 vote to his name, after previously receiving such a boost in the men's heavyweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight tables. Is this a true changing of the guard? Should Jones be getting more respect? Or does Jones have to go through Aspinall to regain his spot now? All eyes are on Jones now as his next fight can't come soon enough. Tom Aspinall now favored to beat Jon Jones in potential unification bout after UFC 304. If Tom Aspinall and Jon Jones ever do fight, Jones will likely be the underdog. Aspinall officially flipped into a betting favorite over Jones in the potential UFC heavyweight title unification match, following yet another brilliant performance from the Englishman at UFC 304, which saw Aspinall defend his interim belt with a 60-second knockout of Curtis Blaydes. In the aftermath of the win, Aspinall is now a -150 favorite to defeat Jones, +130, according to online sportsbook BetOnline, a far cry from where the odds sat in July 2023, which had Aspinall listed as a +170 underdog and Jones as a -200 favorite. Aspinall, 31, is 7-1 in the UFC heavyweight division since 2020. His only loss over that span came when Aspinall suffered a knee injury just 15 seconds into his first meeting with Blaydes, a loss that has now been avenged in thunderous fashion. Among Aspinall's wins are numerous ranked UFC heavyweights: Blaydes, Sergey Pavlovich, Marcin Tybura, Alexander Volkov, and Sergey Spivak. Jones, 37, is widely considered the greatest light heavyweight to ever compete in MMA, but has only fought once at heavyweight, capturing the vacant UFC heavyweight title with a first-round submission of Cyril Jean in March 2023. Jones is expected to return in November against former champion Stipe Miocic in a divisive bout for the MMA fan base. Aspinall once again called out Jones in the aftermath of his UFC 304 win. However, Jones responded only with the cryptic tweet, "Supply and demand at its finest, I love it." Jon Bones' return in November fires back at Tom Aspinall and his UFC 304 co-main event. Jon Jones wasted no time firing back at Tom Aspinall over his claims that the reigning UFC heavyweight champion was holding up the division. On Thursday, UFC CEO Dana White announced that Aspinall will face Curtis Blaydes in the co-main event of UFC 304 on July 27th, as the interim heavyweight title debuts. Aspinall then posted a reaction video in which he took a shot at Jones, who has been out since tearing a pectoral muscle that prevented him from facing Stipe Miocic last November. Usually, when the champion comes back, obviously the interim champion is going to fight the champion, Aspinall said. Jon Jones is lying, let's be honest. He's playing games. Jones responded with a message of his own on Twitter with a reminder that Aspinall is defending his belt in the co-title slot under Leon Edwards against Belal Muhammad in a welterweight title fight to top the bill in Manchester, England. Of course, an undisputed title always trumps an interim belt, which is the same reason Aspinall will fight in the co-main event against Sergey Pavlovich at UFC 295 as well. Trolls tell me I'm slowing down the department because of my injury, Jones wrote. Meanwhile, the next two heavy events aren't even major events? Interesting. I'm on the right track, and I have until November to remind the world. Once again, in a now-deleted tweet, Jones initially announced that he would return on November 9th at Madison Square Garden in New York City, the UFC's annual landing spot. No official word if Jones versus Miocic is expected to headline the UFC's return to New York in November. That's clearly the goal Jones has in mind.